let's talk about something completely different. Christianity. And Chrono Trigger. For anyone who hasn't read the Bible, it's essentially a non-canon sequel to the Jewish Torah where Yahweh, now just called God, comes down from heaven one day to have ear sex with a virgin, knock her up so he can give birth to himself in order to take human form in order to be killed by the Romans so that God, who is in a human avatar known as Jesus, can forgive us for killing him, which could have been avoided if he never came down here to begin with. And because some dirt man and his rib wife 10,000 years earlier was tricked by a talking snake into eating a magic apple that made them realize they were naked, which pissed God off because he likes looking at penises and titties all day, but now that humans are wearing clothes, he just has nothing to look at anymore. Anyway, back to this Jesus guy. The Jesus guy magically comes back to life after a weekend of partying in the afterlife, which shouldn't have been surprising since he said he was God. And he appears to his 12 friends who are now wanted criminals because of him, and he told them to go out there and preach a story, which led to each of them being murdered in terrible ways. And after thousands of years of killing and torturing people into believing in Jesus, Christianity became the second largest religion in the world, with over 40% of the world population believing some version of this story to be completely historically true. Hooray! Now, what did all this have to do with an SNES RPG? Well, it should be obvious if you played the game. Crono is Jesus. Or at least a more badass Jesus. There actually is a lot of evidence for this. Let's start with the basics. Balthazar, Gaspar, and Melchior are the names of the three kings in the Bible that visit baby God Jesus in a manger after following a star. They also gave gifts to Jesus' mother Mary, gold, myrrh, and frankincense, which Mary immediately pawned for crack. Anyway, the three kings in the book are named Balthazar, Gaspar, and Melchior. These are also the names of the three gurus in Chrono Trigger that present Crono with a sword called Masamune, the Time Egg, and the time-traveling spacecraft called Epoch. Arguably a lot better gifts than their book counterparts. One of the few miracles Jesus performs in the Bible is the feeding of 1,000 people at a party, with only 2 fishes and loaves of bread. Don't know how mathematically he was able to do this, but whatever. It's magic. Don't question magic. Crono does something similar, where he's able to feed an entire army with a few pieces of jerky. Crono also has a spell called Life, which among his other powers seems out of place. This allows him to revive the fallen. Jesus also had resurrection powers. He brings a little girl back to life and his friend Lazarus. Whatever happened to them afterwards? Never mentioned again. You'd think that'd be important to know, but the writers apparently just didn't care at this point. Anyway, before Jesus dies in the storybook, he has a Last Supper, gets betrayed by his homie Judas, and is sentenced to death, which is what happens to Crono. He gets betrayed, and is sentenced to death. There's the obvious evidence, too, of Crono sacrificing himself to save his friends, kinda like how Jesus sacrificed his weekend to save people from sin. Crono is resurrected like Jesus. We also never learn who Crono's father is. Was he a virgin birth? Perhaps, because he is his own father, like God is his own father to himself, Jesus. This book is fucking bonkers. And the final piece of evidence comes from Revelations, basically the end times portion of the book. It is said in Revelations that an angel shall blow a trumpet and a red star will fall to earth. Well, this, strangely enough, actually appears in Chrono Trigger, where a red star crashes into the earth. Of course, that red star just so happens to be an alien parasite named Lavos, who may be a representation of Satan. In Chrono Trigger, a woman named Scala is forced to summon Lavos, and she is infused with him. She's also wearing purple. She may be a reference to Babylon the Whore, who rides on a 10-horned monster called the Scarlet Beast. Could be Lavos. Quite frankly, Revelations is pretty poorly written. But Chrono Trigger can also parallel Christianity itself. There's a city in the game called Medina, which is also the name of the holy city in Islam. The city in the game is a holy city, and home to your enemies, the mystics, who parallel the Muslims. They immediately don't like you being there because you're an outsider. There's also parallels to the Crusades. The mystics are the Muslims in the game, and the humans are the Christians. They fight a war against each other. Why can't we all just get along? So, do I actually believe this theory to be true? Of course not. I just wanted an excuse to poke fun at Christianity and how ridiculous it is. But I mean, it's nothing. Messiah characters and Christ imagery is used in many stories, so it's not surprising that there's similar elements in the story of Chrono Trigger.